I still remember the night I babysat for the Smiths like it was yesterday. It was a chilly autumn evening, and the trees outside their massive house creaked and groaned in the wind. As I walked in, Mrs. Smith handed me a list of emergency numbers and instructed me on how to handle any situation that might arise. She reminded me that Timmy, their 7-year-old son, had a habit of getting up in the middle of the night to grab a glass of water, and that Emily, their 4-year-old daughter, was a light sleeper and might wake up if she heard any noise. With a reassuring smile, she left me in charge of her 2 kids. The door closed behind her, and I was suddenly enveloped in an unsettling silence. The house was huge, with long corridors and an endless number of rooms. I had been there a few times before, but never alone. As I began to tidy up the living room, I noticed that the TV was still on, casting an eerie glow over the space. I turned it off, and the sudden darkness made me jump. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I was in control. As the night wore on, I heard the usual creaks and groans of the old house, but nothing out of the ordinary. That was until I heard Timmy's voice. At first, I thought he was just calling out for a glass of water, but as I listened more closely, I realized he was whispering something. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but it sent shivers down my spine. I tried to shake off the feeling, telling myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. I went to check on the kids, and they were both fast asleep. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. It was a shadowy figure standing in the doorway, just behind me. My heart racing, I spun around, but there was no one there. I told myself it was just a trick of the light, but the image lingered in my mind. As the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, and I could make out the words, "Get out while you still can." My skin crawling, I tried to distract myself by watching a movie, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched. And then, I heard the sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate footsteps, coming from the floor above. I knew I had to check it out, but as I reached the top of the stairs, I realized that I was not alone. The kids were standing in the hallway, their eyes black as coal, and their skin deathly pale. They were staring at me, and I could sense a malevolent presence behind them. I tried to run, but my feet felt heavy, as if rooted to the spot. And then, everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on the floor, my head throbbing with pain. The kids were nowhere to be seen, but I could hear their laughter, faint but unmistakable. It was then that I realized I was not alone in the house, and I never will be again.